21. The waves would have been a surfer's dream, but I doubted it was an Enoran pastime. Then again, the world was huge. Who knew what its denizens got up to? Amelia scouted from atop her horse 50 yards ahead, and if it hadn't been for night vision, we'd have lost sight of her. When she came to a stop, we all halted to see if she'd detected something in the brush-covered dunes to our right. But she dropped from the saddle and onto her duff, then flipped off her shoes and wriggled her toes in the sand.
There, that's better.
After Sumi dismounted, she used the front of one sandal's sole to push down the double sling wrapped around the opposite heel, then raised her foot to yank the other one free. The pair strolled into the tide without a word until it reached their shins. Machini, Roshan, and I shared smiles, then I called out to the elf. So much for scouting ahead. If she hadn't been glancing my way, she never would have known I'd yelled thanks to the crashing waves 50 feet further out. When she cupped one hand around an ear, I waved her off. I supposed even elven hearing had limits. I slid off my mount, then offered Roshan a hand.
A chivalrous gentleman to the last Chenois.
She slid down into my arms, then her feet cut swaths in the sand. It was warmer on this side of Grey Cutter, and the mounts moved toward the water to wet their hooves. The weather often changed when we moved into new regions to maintain game tropes, so the coast was about 20 degrees warmer. But there was no telling how long that would last. The area on my map was small, and my foundation, the Plague Barons, Charlesby, and Warrington shared similar weather patterns. Roshan slipped her arm inside my elbow.
This is not the way you, Dicini, and Priya traveled when you came for me in Charlesby, is it?
Nope. We crossed the plains from Warrington and back like we did hours ago.
What does your atlas say about the area? Or did you bother checking?
I smirked. Have I mentioned how lovely it is to have your snark around again?
I noticed you didn't quite answer the question.
She tugged my arm, then thumped her hip into mine. She yanked me toward her when I lost my balance. You're more playful than I'm used to.
Maybe I'm happy to be with you.
She turned her face toward the dunes, hiding whatever expression crossed her features.
But I'll be less so if you don't tell me what your atlas said.
Nothing. This sliver of coast is called the Mid-Eastern Coastline. Nothing about inhabitants or wildlife.
Useless.
Tell me about it. It's not the most comprehensive document I've seen. Tends to focus on towns, cities, and notable herding of wildlife.
Maybe the goddess wants her chosen one to find his own way, but I suspect areas you've discovered will contain more information.
About that, the priestess was right. Since the new AI took over, I received fewer convenient quests, the kind that resulted from thoughts I was having. But that could have meant two things. One, that's how it was designed. And two, the most likely option, the previous AI had been monitoring my thoughts the entire time. Now that Lucera had activated inside Priya, and I'd been her keeper of sorts, I knew why Enora would want to keep tabs on me. But it still pissed me off since it was promised there'd be no mind reading after level 10. I also recalled too vividly how Zara enjoyed mind reading capabilities. The only being I've encountered in Enora with that skill. I wonder if all the guardians of the trees feeding the ley lines can do it. I shrugged. Roshan yanked me against her, then bumped me again.
Someone is having a conversation with himself?
I yanked and returned the bump. I'm entitled to my inner thoughts, priestess. Roshan righted herself, then chuckled.
This is true.
Her head turned, and although I was scanning the coastline ahead, I got the sense she was scanning me, tracing my features or searching for something in my expression.
What will you tell her?
Sounds like someone else has an internal dialogue going, too. Do you mean Zara? The Lawan woman nodded. To be honest, I've been too busy to think about it.
By design, I assume. Keeping yourself busy so thoughts of your absent beloved don't consume?
I think you've understood me as well as anyone from the moment I pulled you away from that lake in the dark wood.
Master Mitwa always said our ability to listen provides more value than our desire to speak.
Your teacher was a wise man.
Oh, look.
She slid her arm away from mine, then jogged toward the dunes.
Do you want to raise your botany skill?
I jostled both shoulders, then knelt next to her. Despite the proximity, I still had to call out over the wind. Couldn't hurt. I haven't devoted much time to it.
Well, you have a master botanist at your foundation, and your mind has been filled with more pressing matters, not to mention skills that better serve the goddess's purpose for you.
She pinched a thumb and forefinger around the stem of a thin, brownish plant with narrow leaves popping out of its stalk at intervals. The flower sprouting from the top was tan with tiny purple petals.
This is bristleweed. Pinch the stem here, then tug like this.
Roshan jostled her fingers so the flower above shook and a couple dead petals slipped away in the wind. When the plant loosened at the roots, she tugged, then pulled. The whole plant came free, and the low hue of glowing roots drew my focus. I leaned closer. What's with the purple glow? Roshan adopted the tone of a teacher.
Although these roots are shallow, you can see here where the bottom of the stem broke off. This part runs deep in the ground and merges with networks of roots that run all the way to the ley lines.
Every tooth shone in the light of my seeing spell as she smiled.
Can you imagine? Such a tiny stem driving so deep?
I shook my head. Hard to fathom.
Bristleweed. Roshan has taught you that this plant's stem reached deep into the soil to connect with the roots leading to the magical ley lines far beneath the Enoran surface. +1 botany skill. Your botany skill has reached rank 11. Congratulations. You are now a botany apprentice. Now that your botany skill has reached rank 11, you can recognize new plants scattered across Enora. Seek them out and learn their properties to increase your skill.
Yo, I just reached apprentice rank. Thanks.
Wonderful. You bloom before me. Now reach down and pinch that one.
She gave another plant a gentle tap on its flower. I pinched the stem, tugged, wiggled, then tugged again. Roshan shook her head, then grabbed my fingers.
Work it side to side until you feel the tension release. Although the stem reaches deep into the root systems to merge with the ley, these must be pulled out gently.
She raised the one she'd already uprooted, then fingered the shorter glowing roots.
Otherwise the plant is useless. We wobble it to loosen them, then snap the stem at the bottom when we feel it relax. Now, try again.
When the plant came free this time, Roshan clapped. More applause rang from behind, and I turned to find the rest of the party circled around us, apparently drawn by their curiosity over why we'd climbed into the dunes. That and Amelia was my second ass.
Your botany skill has reached rank 12.
They clapped like they were watching a golf match. Smart asses. I picked a few more, and by the time we were finished, I'd reached rank 14. Then the question I should have asked earlier finally occurred. What are these good for?
Low-level mana potions, slight magic resistance. Nothing you'd make much use of. When mixed with other plants of higher potency, their properties increase significantly.
I'll stow them just in case. Tira Trilip might have the ingredients to give our new defenders an edge.
New defenders?
Roshan set one hand on her hip.
I saw the upgrade notification, but you haven't told me about it.
She gripped my arm to lead me down the coast, and I was once again taken by the level of affection. Maybe absence did make the heart grow fonder. Or perhaps the priestess pitied me for my apparent loss. We summoned magic casters to supplement our cavalry and ground-based forces. 4 damage dealers and a healer so far, and I raised them to level 40.
Oh, that sounds promising. Let Hokram bring his minions now.
I laughed. More like Trowsby, but I take your meaning. We have guard towers for them to rain down fire and shit, too. The place has expanded.
I will come and see when our business is done.
I'd love that. Maybe you could stay over for a night or two. She nodded but didn't respond, and as much as I'd have liked to continue our conversation, the timing was off because a new frame materialized in my HUD.
Samancia Renard has invited you to a clan chat. The Queen's clan. Would you like to join?
I tapped Roshan's shoulder. Samancia, clan chat. She nodded as I returned to my interface.
Samancia. Shenhua, what a wonderful gift you've bestowed upon me. Gemini.
Your Highness. WTF? You're on clan chat?
Why wouldn't I be? It's not like they can force me to close it.
They found a way to do it to me.
Try not to internalize your failures. It was a different situation. They threatened pain against your infant child.
What's the status of your mission?
The King's whore finally came to my cell this morning.
Seema?
Indeed. My spy assessment of her proved accurate, but he underestimated her determination. She threatened to torture me 3 times during our conversation when I wouldn't tell her why I came.
A spy within the Queen's human ranks had traveled to the west a couple years earlier, then managed to con his way into the King's outer circle. I hadn't learned of his existence until the Queen told me her plan to directly engage the powers that be on the other side of the continent in hopes she could gauge this Seema woman and maybe convince the King his interests were best served by staying in the west.
Gemini.
Torture, huh? Something tells me you're getting under Seema's skin.
Semantia. She behaved as if I should want to talk to her. Strikes me as very...
Entitled?
Yes, that's it. But all is not lost. Despite her stranglehold on the King's manhood, I get the impression he lends me a kind of regal courtesy. I believe she's kept him from seeing me, but I've learned much in our single conversation. Seema boasts a high level, and although she tried to mask her attributes, she's not used to someone like me. Her idea of leadership is to dominate those of lower level and dispatch those who could pose a threat to her. It's why her soldiers are all closer to your level.
I'll try not to take offense.
Nor should you, Shenhua. You've excelled since the goddess sent you here. But there is one thing you should know about Seema before we end our communication.
I wait with bated breath.
She was the leader of a Rubalian coven of the Shadow Council. She left them behind, and I can only assume the rest refused to render aid in her quest for power. I think it may have been Drassen Welling's coven.
Contessa of Milbury's uncle? Shit. Wonder why he never told you. I've been looking forward to meeting a real coven, unlike the shits the Warsagers sent to my foundation when Cain cleared the blight. Pronto indicated they'd be friendly to our cause, but they're the proverbial needle in a haystack.
I'm unfamiliar with the metaphor, but I think I take your meaning. I, too, have had the most difficulty locating any covens, and I suspect many crossed the seas to escape the King's edicts.
Pronto said some had.
As for Drassen Welling, he probably had his reasons for keeping this truth about his coven under his cloak. Either way, Seema is not to be trifled with. If we move on her, we will have to come in force. When the little army she conquered then adopted combines with the King's ranks, Brusaria will be prepared for us.
Then someday, we'll prepare for it. Do you still have the return stone?
I do, and I considered using it. Then I reached out to Giles and heard Brugh was in the city. I wanted to at least give him the opportunity to break in and rescue me. It would bring him much contentment. Very loyal, that warrior.
Just promise me if Seema makes good on her threat to torture you, you'll use it.
Don't trouble yourself, Shenhua. I have matters in hand. Semantia has ended the chat. Semantia has squelched clan chat.
I had the nagging sense that my future promised conflict with this Shadow Council member who'd conquered a community deep in a swamp, then took command of their forces. Bring it on.